Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Coming Out Stories from India series. What is coming out? Coming out is a term used primarily in the LGBT community when a queer person shares about their sexual orientation, usually with friends and family. Nicola and I decided to launch these coming out stories in India to ensure we all work together in changing the narrative. The last few years since my own coming out journey, I've been looking for role models, stories that can help me in my own journey. There were hardly any, and if at all, not in depth enough. What was common to most is the challenging journeys that each one of us had. But we also discovered that not all stories are that of pain, suffering, and trauma either. This is when the coming out stories from India took shape to bring to our audience real people with real stories. Hopefully, these coming out stories can help pave the way for those who are in any phase of their coming out journey. I'm Raga Olga D'silva, or Totally Out Now, as you know me. Wow, our guest today has a beautiful story. Each time I watch her social media feed, I also feel very hungry and I keep writing to her and saying, I want that. She's an award winning blogger, and her blog is www.culinarycommentator.com. Do you know who I'm talking about? She's also a columnist and a foodie. Please join me in welcoming Rukshana A. Kapadia.
Hi, Raga. Hi, Nicola out there in the background. Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to connect.
Thank you, Rukshana. Thank you for joining us with your beautiful smile and your beautiful story. And I cannot wait to have a conversation with you. All the way from Kolkata, right?
Absolutely. Kolkata
Okay.
live and clear.
I used to love the name Calcutta and I still love the name Kolkata. It has a certain zing to it. So Kolkata it is for us. Now, Rukshana, one of the things that really stood out for me when we were having these various conversations is about the journey you've had. And it's almost like India lives in you. There's multiple states within you. So can you tell us about your growing up years?
So, I had a very interesting childhood. My father was a senior executive with Tata Steel, which is one of India's largest multinational corporations. And we moved all over the country. I'm an only child, and my parents refused to put me in a boarding school. So I was taken around like, an extra suitcase. And I lived and studied in diverse parts of our beautiful country: Delhi, Bangalore, Jalandhar, Kanpur, Baroda, you name it. It's kind of like been all the different directions of, our country. And, I've always been a people's person, and I love people. I love making friends with people, and I genuinely enjoy being in the company of people. So my tiffin box became my first steps to every new place that I went, to bond with other children my age and create friendships. Obviously, I think I was born a foodie. I come from a family of foodies, so the DNA was already there. But honestly, it was that tiffin box that empowered me, gave me the happiness and the joy. And it was lovely because our country is so diverse in its culture. And, at a very young age, when you have that privilege, I call it, of being exposed to different cultures, I think it teaches you to embrace them, to celebrate them, and to consider them all a part of you in some small way. And then what began to happen is, I think that formed me more as an adult because I'm not judgmental. I think I learn and see something beautiful in every person I meet. And it's really helped me, even I think, with my food and my work and my palate. Because at a young age, when a lot of flavors are thrown at you, you don't consider only one kind of food good or bad. The excitement, it's like being, Christopher Columbus and discovering America. You want to taste every flavor and experience every culture. And I think that formed me to reach the where I am as an adult as well.
Okay. So we're experiencing some technical lag. So audience, please bear with us. And Rukshana did mention about Christopher Columbus. That's what I heard. So can you repeat that bit for us, Rukshana?
So I said, for a person like me, just like the excitement of Christopher Columbus discovering the Americas, for me, every time I eat something new, uh, it could be a new dish that I haven't eaten before, it could be a new kind of cuisine. The excitement of discovery is there. My childhood and the various culinary and cultural experiences that I had have made me very open, very diverse, and very non-judgmental about. I'm not very typical in that. I don't think this is right or wrong or good or bad, uh, because I'm open. Until I don't try it, until I don't experience it, I don't judge it. There's no prejudgment actually, and I think that shaped me as an adult for who I am also personally.
I love what you're talking about. I love
So yeah.
how you're saying you're using those key values, in our conversation. But you're also talking about discovery. So coming back to that one word. Now, in your younger days, did you discover yourself? Did you discover your sexual identity early on, or did it take you longer?
Well, I always knew I was different, but in the sense that I was always a tomboy. Uh, I still have stories that my parents and when they were alive, my grandparents would tell me about how when I was gifted a doll, I threw it out of the window of the fifth floor of my grandparents' house. But I used to love guns and cars, and I was my granny used to. She was a very proper and elegant lady. She used to call me her little hooligan because I'd be climbing trees and running around with all the boys, cricket, football, what have you. I was always very you know uh, energetic and never stayed in one place. So yes, but when you're very young, at least in a place like India, all the boys and girls would play together, and it was only between the kids, between the cousins and the neighbors and the friends and the classmates. It was only when I was about 14, I was studying in a convent girls' school, then I realized that there was something different about me, because by 14, my classmates and my friends had started crushing on teenage boys. And I realized I was not crushing on them. I liked them. I thought they were great fun. I like to hang out and talk with them. But I was actually crushing on my classmates and my friends. So that's when I knew that I was different. But I'm 48. And at that point of time, there was no internet, there was no access to information, and there was certainly no talk about being gay or a queer movement in India. So I had no way of understanding or putting a term or a definition to who I was, except for the fact that I was different from the others. But I was very outgoing and popular in school. So I was never judged for being a tomboy or whatever. And of course, the crushes remained secret, so to speak. They stayed at, high school crushes kind of thing. And it was only when I actually got into it evolved, because you know how it is. We used to go over to our friends' houses for night spends. Friends had elder brothers. In those days, the only kind of naughty magazines and books were available. There was no video, there was no internet, there was nothing. There was nothing on TV or cable, nothing. None of those things existed at that point of time, over 3 decades back in India, at least in Kolkata, that time Calcutta. So yes, I mean, it was only then when I would see, magazines which would show two men together and two women together, and I would read the terms like, homosexual and queer and gay and lesbian. Then I actually realized there was a term for who I was, and there was a definition for it. And then at 16 and a half, I got into my first relationship with a friend and a classmate. But of course, it was all very hush hush, and just a couple of very very close friends in the inner circle would know about it. For the rest, we were just friends and such like. So yes, that was it for
So
me.
So at a very young age, you discovered yourself and accepted yourself, right? Because that is the biggest problem that I have faced. I didn't even know that it existed. I didn't even understand myself. I continuously told myself I was different. But like you said, in our time, there was no way. I mean, I didn't even have a porn magazine to look at. So unfortunately, I didn't even have access to that kind of stuff to discover that two men and two women could be together. I should beat up my brother for it. But anyway,
Absolutely.
but but coming back to the, see, you have accepted yourself, you have discovered yourself, but in India there are many others at that time who have no idea. So how do you then go and find or seek someone who you could potentially have an emotional, intimate relationship with? Was that difficult for you?
I was, I think, very lucky there, because what you say is absolutely, spot on. Uh, in my case, because I was a tomboy, and I think in India, at that point, over 3 decades back, girls were very repressed, in the sense it was frowned upon. They were conservative in their outlook, families. They were not allowed to go out with boys, and I was very tomboyish. I was very butch, as I said. And therefore, I think they were very attracted to the butchness in me. And of course, when you're young, you have raging hormones. So that leads to curiosity. But I always knew that I am not one of those queer women who is repulsed by a man. I've had a couple of boyfriends, etc., growing up, because one needed to figure out and find out. Like I said, at our time, there was no clear information accessibility to us. Uh, I'm still in touch with them. They are friends. They've gone on to get married and have kids. And we wish each other, even today, thanks be to social media and all the rest of it, on birthdays and festivals and all the rest of it. But the point is, I was just never attracted to them as they were attracted to me. You know, what you call the chemistry. That just wasn't there on a physical level. And I have nothing against men, and I don't have a problem with that. But I think there are a lot of women uh, that I know, queer and gay women, who are very repulsed by men, which I'm not. So I don't know if that makes me different or it just makes me who I am. But I'm one of those people, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And I think that comes from being, my idea of being comfortable is about being a good human being. It's not about whether what religion I practice or what gender I am. I'm very comfortable being who I am. And that's my parameter of judgment. So that's how I look at it.
So Rukshana, at this point, you at what stage did you fall in love for the first time with a woman, and how was that for you?
For me, when I fell in love the first time with this friend and classmate of mine at 16 and a half, I think it just made, sort of defined me and made me more realize with great clarity that this is who I am. Yes, I was an only child. My parents are wonderful people and hugely instrumental in making me the kind of human being I have hopefully been and become. But I can honestly tell you that they were very conventional, in the sense that they wanted a typical daughter who would go on, get married, give them grandkids, etc. And they thought my being a tomboy would be something that I would outgrow. Which unfortunately, I mean, I'm 48 now and I haven't outgrown it yet. So I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. But yes, that's, I think, how you have to realize it, that there is a lot of stereotype, there is a lot of, sort of definition of who you're supposed to be. And it requires a lot of strength and confidence in who you believe yourself to be able to actually embrace who you are.
True. So 16 and a half, you have a girlfriend. You've discovered that this is who you are. You have a girlfriend. Is the girlfriend as accepting of herself as you are?
So, both the first two girlfriends that I had, starting from my late teens to my late 20s, uh, they were never comfortable defining themselves as queer or gay. They both had that very strong convention that they would go on to get married and have conventional families, etc. They never dreamt of a long-term future, which is something that I would have happily dreamt of with either of them at that point of time. Though now I'm very grateful that, because I do believe that my current partner is not just my best friend, but also my soulmate. And I realize that that's how life evolves. Whatever happens, happens for a reason that you understand on hindsight. But it was, of course, very traumatic at a certain level when you're young, and you're also in a process and a journey of self discovery, which I was, of being with someone who you loved dearly, but who was and who loved me back dearly. It's not that they didn't love me. Like I said, we are still friends, both of them. We wish each other. We ask after. I ask after their kids. It's all good. It's not that there's any kind of angst or any kind of negativity, but it just was not something they were cut out for, maybe, or ready to come to terms with. I don't know. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself. But honestly, that is it. So for me, of course, it was a lot of heartache in my growing up years, that I was with people that I was happy to be with and who were genuinely happy to be with me, but were not open about it. So, yes.
Sure. Sure. So at that stage, did you ever consider or believe that what is going to happen to me? Because I did. I didn't have a role model, like I said. I knew something was happening for me, but I thought this is a heteronormative society, heterosexual world where a biological man and a biological woman, meet, get married eventually, and procreate. So did you ever think there is no scene in Kolkata, and what is going to happen to me? Did you ever think like that?
Oh, all the time. Uh, I would always wonder how many more like me are out there, how to connect with them, how to reach out to them. Uh, you know, it was just a very, very closed, repressed time for the LGBTQ plus movement. And whatever, most of the interactions that happened, especially with gay men, were always very, very more of a sexual in nature. You know how it is. I think we are more emotional. We are not given so much to one night stands and flings or short term relationships. Like, my first relationship was about 4 or 5 years. The next one was about 7, 8 years. Uh, and now I'm with my current partner for the last 12 years, and we've lived together for over a decade. And I don't believe I would ever be with anybody else, because she's incredible. And I thank God every day that love is blind, because I still haven't figured out why she loves me, but I'm very grateful she does.
Oh, we can see why she loves you, but we'll get to
Ah,
that. Yeah. No, but coming back to this whole, I'm trying to understand how Kolkata was at that time, because I think a lot
very
of our
closed.
audience, yeah, our audience should understand, because the generation today, for instance, Rukshana, how lucky are they? They've got information,
Blessed.
they've got, yeah, role models, they've got, you can go on Google and get any information that you wish. We
Absolutely.
had no idea. We didn't, like you said earlier, I didn't know that the word called GAY existed, LESBIA, and was only in Hollywood, and what was that? That was someone else, right?
Absolutely.
So, so give
Absolutely.
us just set a scene for us about Kolkata, and let's say you've discovered yourself, but what happens after that? What do you do? Where do you find peers? Where do you find people that you want to hang out with?
That's precisely my point. You don't. I was just very lucky. That the two ladies that I was involved with in the early stages of my 20s were actually, they just happened to be there, and possibly they were attracted, like I said, to the very, you know, sort of butch side of me. And I think that is the only thing that worked. But I would say, for 99% of queer women of my generation, it was an absolute, black hole. I think that's the only way I can describe it. Uh, I think, again, 99% of them went on to be married and get into relationships with their husbands, have children, go the conventional path, not because they wanted to, they just didn't know that there was another choice. Like, maybe for you it was, you didn't know there was a choice out there. You realized about your choices even later, and even when you did, you were gay, you did realize you're gay. You took a long time to come to terms with it, because it's so drained into your head that it's wrong and it's bad. And that was one of the things that for me happened with my parents. So my parents are very, very evolved and educated people in everything except this. It was a very funny thing. My father used to travel abroad very frequently for the nature of his work. And I remember, just around the time that I got into my first relationship that I did, he came back from a flight that came from San Francisco. And we, as a family, have always had great communication. I was always treated like an adult, whenever any decisions were made by my parents, I was always asked to sit on a table and talk it out with them. They would always make me understand why they were choosing to do certain things. They were very incredible people. They are very incredible people even today. But I remember at that point of time, my father saying, God, don't ask what a terrible flight I had. And when we asked him why he had a terrible flight, he says, don't ask. Two men were sitting beside me and they were kissing each other, you know? And I had just got into this relationship where I was kissing a woman, and it freaked me out. And that's why it took me the better part of 2 decades to want to come out to my parents, as wonderful and lovely and supportive as they have been in every other aspect of my life, because I was so afraid that I was letting them down. And I
Wow.
was an only child. I didn't want to let my parents down because they've given me a lot of love, a lot of affection. They've made me who I am, and I'd like to think I'm a decent human being.
It's
So yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that even though you come from a family like that, which seems liberated, like which seems open, and who gave you every freedom possible, and you loved them like unconditionally, you still had the fear of coming out. Now, which is very interesting because, again, today's generation doesn't really understand that this is before we even spoke about any truth, we had to rehearse for, sorry, I'm not going to say days, weeks, months, years, in Rukshana's case, two
Years.
decades. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So we rehearsed in front of a mirror for years,
Absolutely.
right? So I mean, I saw that photo
True.
that you shared with us, and we just shared with the audience about your mom and dad. And your mom is, you can say, beautifully sari-clad, conservative-looking woman. If we judge people by their look, right? Was there an expectation from your mother
She's
that
a
you
lovely
would,
and elegant lady.
beautiful, very beautiful. So it was an expectation from your mother even to dress up like her at all? Because you're saying that you were very tomboyish, you wore jeans and t-shirt. So was there an expectation? Did she ever put? I know you said earlier that sometimes you would give in, but was that an expectation?
My mother always, I think my parents were very accepting about the fact that I was a tomboy because they were very evolved and educated and lovely people. But yeah, my mother always laments. So, we Parsis, we have a sari wearing ceremony, which is, so in Parsis, you have a thread ceremony called a Navjot ceremony. Then you have a thread, after the thread ceremony, which is around before your puberty, usually when you're around 7, 8 years old. Then you go into a sari wearing ceremony, which is just after you get, your periods. So you're usually around 13 or 14. And it's a very big ceremony. All the ladies of the house come together. There's a red sari that is put in your Navjot thread ceremony, and that is kept for that many years, and it signifies your entry into womanhood. So it's a red colored sari. And then with great ceremony, you're wrapped up in that sari by the ladies of the house and celebrated. And it's a big occasion in your life. So there's a Navjot ceremony, a sari wearing ceremony, your marriage, and then probably a funeral, as far as the Parsis are concerned. And so at 14, I had my sari wearing ceremony. And I was a reasonably pleasant looking young girl. So I did look good in a sari, though I had very short hair, not as short as I do now, but shorter hair at that point of time, similar to the photograph of that you all showed of my childhood. And my mother even today laments. She's got these beautiful Parsi saris, etc. That what will I do with the saris? What will I do with the jewelry? You're my only daughter, and you don't want to wear anything. And I'm one of those people. I'm a very simple person. I'm not into any kind of accessories or jewelry or whatever one I wear completely because of sentimental reasons. I'm just not into. It's just not who I am. So yes, of course, my mom and even her mother, my grandmother, were both absolutely stunning, elegant, and beautiful women in the very conventional sense of what is considered beautiful, at least in India. And we Parsis, so I belong to a community called the Parsi community. We as Zoroastrians, we came from Iran, but we've settled in India 2000 years back, and we're a very small, close knit community. And so, we Parsis have certain ceremonies like every community does. We have a thread ceremony called the Navjot ceremony, at which point of time, if you're a girl child, a sari is placed during the ceremony, which is a red sari. You go on at after you've attained puberty and had your first period at usually around 13 or 14 to having a sari wearing ceremony, which signifies you stepping into womanhood. And then, of course, you have the next thing is your marriage, and of course, at the end of your life, your funeral. So my sari wearing ceremony was the typical red sari, the ladies of the house gathering around and things like that. But even then, I was never comfortable. I looked good in a sari because I was a decent looking young lady. But I was never the kind of person who ever was interested or excited in saris and conventional clothes. I was always a shorts and a jeans kind of person. And, very, very casual. I didn't like dressing up. I hated makeup. I've never used makeup in my life. I never went into all the hairstyles with clips and, the usual feminine hair bands and scrunchies and all the rest. Like I said, I was very tomboy and very butch. But my mom, even now, though they are very accepting of who I am and they love me and embrace me for who I am, was very, very, she is always lamenting over the fact, that I am in a position not to enjoy her beautiful Parsi saris and the jewelry and the conventional things that a mother would pass down to a daughter. So, yes, I mean, from that point of view, definitely.
So,
They had a struggle, and there is, I'm sure, a regret from my mother's side, which unfortunately I can't do anything about.
so your parents, you came out to them much later, right? That's the first thing. It's not that they got to know about it from outside. You told them much later. Did they ever question you? Were they ever suspicious? Did they ever want you to be married to someone?
My mom and dad definitely questioned it. They were not very happy. Of course, both my girlfriends would be in and out of my house, and I would be in and out of their houses. In their houses, you were the friend and sister, unfortunately. In my house, you were the friend, but it was frowned upon. Uh, I still remember my dad once. We were sitting in my room. It was winter, and Calcutta is not cold, of course, but it's nippy. So we were just lounging around under a comforter. Not that we were up to any mischief, but we were just under a comforter, chilling and chatting. And my dad happened to come into my room, and later on, he was very upset about the fact that why were we under the same comforter. So, of course, my parents are very intelligent people, and my father and mother were global travelers due to the nature of their work and their life. So, it's not that they were unaware. But of course, they always hoped and felt that it was a phase and one that I would outgrow. And I still remember it's something that stuck in my head. My mom, I battled with a lot of weight issues through most of my life. I used to weigh 140 kilos even 3 years back. So yes, when I actually came out to my mother in my mid 30s, my mom actually came out and told me that, maybe you're not confident about attracting men because of your weight. If you lose weight, maybe you'll attract men. And I remember telling her that I've already been with men, and there are enough men attracted to me, weight or no weight, because of who I am in terms of my personality. But I told her, I remember telling her, and I used this example that, mom, it's not a choice that I have. This is the way I'm born. I didn't stand in front of a cupboard and decide today I'll wear a red shirt, tomorrow I'll wear a black shirt. Today I'll be, queer, tomorrow I'll be straight. It's just how my brain is wired and who I am. And I'm never going to go the path that you want me to go, or the conventional path. So accept it and make your peace with it. So, yes,
So did she struggle? Was
it
there a
was a
phase
struggle.
where was there a phase where she didn't speak with you, for instance? I've heard of stories about other people where they say the mum going on a hunger strike for days, using emotional blackmail. Did she ever do that?
So, like I said, when I really officially came out to my parents, I was 35. I was a fairly successful career woman. I was financially independent. I had my own apartment. Some things that most conventional Indian women will not have. Even if they're single, they'll continue to stay with their parents and such. But I luckily come from a very, very evolved family, and we are a nuclear family, not a joint family in India, which many people still are. So I had the freedom of choice. And I remember going and telling my mom and dad when I met my current partner, Suneha. I went and told my parents who I was and what it was, because I realized when I met her that this is it for me. The buck stops here. I've met the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And she and I are very proud to be together. And we are not going to hide who we are, least of all from my parents. So, yes, it was a question where they did struggle for about 6 months. They were not very happy about it. They never had any hunger strikes or tantrums or anything. But like I would go and have a meal every midweek after office once, dinner with my parents, and we'd have every Sunday, we'd have lunch together at the clubs. You know, Calcutta has this club culture, which is a hangover of the British colonial culture. And so we'd have lunch at the club every Sunday. It's a family lunch. So, like, immediately they told me, you can't bring her for Sunday lunch. And I said, in that case, we won't have Sunday lunch together because she will be with me on a Sunday. And if someone tells you to go every Sunday without that somewhere, why would you want to do it? So I went and met them. We would talk every day. I still talk to my parents twice a day, every morning and every evening. All the things that we did. But there were certain things in which I dug my heels in. They were never openly blackmailing or emotionally. They were disappointed. That's the word I'd use. And but they never came forward in a strong manner or a emotionally blackmailing manner. And over 6 months that changed. And then we went back to having lunch at the club together. Their main problem was what I call WWPS. What will people say? The
Yeah.
big
Log kya
questions.
kahenge?
And I
Log kya
always used
kahenge?
to, log kya kahenge? So, I always told them that if you're okay with it and we are okay with it, what will people say? They'll have nothing to say. It's only if you're not okay with it will people make a big hoo-ha about it. And I think that has pretty much been the way I've taken it forward, and so has Suneha. We take it forward as a couple. We embrace each other and we embrace who we are. And so we've very rarely come across situations where, amongst our personal life, where we would, have issues, or people would avoid us because of who we are. But at the same point of time, of course, other places, because the law and the legalities don't support being with your partner or don't recognize a partnership or give your partner rights in India. If I want to add her as a nominee in my bank account, I have to answer a million questions. No, only family. Or if I want to give her, become a nominee for my safe deposit box or for my insurance or for my pension or provident fund, I can't make her a nominee without a fight or a battle because the system doesn't support us. Like most of my cousins are all over the world today, and they all adore her, and they all say, "Come and get married." I mean, I've got cousins in Australia, in the UK, in Canada, and in America. They all say, "Come and get married," and we'll all come wherever you are. And I'm like, I don't need to get married in a ceremony to her. I'm married to her in my soul. The only reason that Suneha and I would want to get legally married is because of the legal rights it gives us as a couple, not because we need a validation for who we are. Our hearts and our emotions validate that. Our journey validates who we are. So
Perfect.
that's the way we
Perfect.
look at it.
Excellent. So I'm going to take you back now, take you back to your coming out. We will talk about Suneha and your relationship as well, but we'll come back to that. So now tell me, when you've had two girlfriends, you said, when you were young, the first two, of course, we know what happened to that. So how did you end up meeting other women? Because like what we just said, 3 decades ago, there was no place that you could go. There was no hangout for queer women, right? So how did you meet other
Absolutely.
women? And how did you
So,
then meet Suneha?
honestly, absolutely. I'll tell you
Sorry,
both.
I'm going to ask you one
So,
other
as
question.
far
And
as the
how
other
did
women
you?
were concerned, after my relationship with my second girlfriend broke up, sorry, yes?
No, sorry, I'm going to ask you another question, which is all
Hello.
connected. Can you hear me? I'm going to ask you. I'm going to repeat the question.
Now I
So
can
I'm
hear
going
you,
to.
Raga.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question so that we have this. One is, in in an environment where there is no gay scene, no queer scene, there's no hangout. How did you meet other women? Also, how did you know that they were gay if you didn't meet them in a particular, gay environment or queer environment? And how did you meet your current partner?
So, firstly, after I broke up with my second girlfriend, I was absolutely emotionally devastated and literally in pieces. I had two, three close friends who were a huge emotional support at that time. Remember, I still hadn't come out to my parents, my family, my peers officially. And at that point of time, I was very lucky that I got an opportunity to move to Gurgaon, which is near Delhi, our capital, for work. And I think that was the best thing that happened to me because I moved to Gurgaon. Now, when I moved to Gurgaon, it was about a year after my breakup. And it was only for the first year, I wasn't in any mind frame. I was so shattered and devastated and in pieces, emotionally, psychologically, in every way, that I don't think that I was in I had any interest or inclination to meeting anybody. And at that point of time, I'd pretty much given up on ever finding love or a partner, or I was just too bruised and not ready to, move forward. And then one of my friends in Calcutta who was gay, he is a gay guy. He actually put me in touch with a wonderful women in Delhi. And they were women who were similar in age to me, professional, well qualified. And it was not it wasn't like some crazy wild secret sex club or anything. We would just meet a couple of times a month. It would be like a bring your own bottle potluck kind of thing, where we just meet and talk. And that was the beginning of the petition for 377. And a few of those women who actually went on to file the 377 movement that started and this entire revolution and made everyone who is from the LGBTQ plus world so much easier in our country today. They were all a part of this group. And it was only then that I realized that there were lots of people like me. It was okay to be gay. It wasn't a big deal. And their friendships, there were no relationships, there were friendships, have gone on to truly heal me, to give me the confidence to be who I was. And I will be forever grateful to that friend of mine in Kolkata who introduced me to them, and those lovely, incredible, empowering women who just not only did what they did for me, but did what they did for the fraternity and the community at large. And then there would be a few parties, etc. So I met a couple of women. We had a couple of casual dates, nothing serious, because I'm still not in the uh, game for a relationship. uh, but it was okay to hang out, dance, go out for a meal or a drink, and very, very rare even then. And then I came back to Kolkata. By then, social media had really begun. There was ICQ and there was Orkut, and and there was also Facebook. So we got on to. I was not too much into ICQ, but Orkut and Facebook became social media platforms that I embraced. And then on Orkut, I had a fake profile, fake as in it was my profile, but not with my name. So I used the name Still Waters Run Deep. And I made a few friends in the queer fraternity in Kolkata until I came on another profile that was called Fallen Angel. And Fallen Angel, I'm a writer. So people who write beautifully, who are capable of expressing a depth in their writing, are people who attract me very powerfully. Uh, so there was a young girl, she was a 20-year-old. She wrote beautifully about how, in those few lines, she expressed herself. And I could not understand why someone like her, because there were no photographs or anything, so I couldn't understand why she called herself Fallen Angel. So there was no chemistry, or there was no oh, I want to date her or get it on with her. It was curiosity that made me send her a friend request. And much to my surprise, she accepted. And a couple of days later, we chatted on Messenger. And I was in office. And my generation, we're not into chatting and stuff like that. So I chatted. I found her a perfectly charming, lovely young girl in her final year of college, who she seemed to be on chat was very similar to the kind of description that she expressed of who she is. And I just told her after the chat, like, this is my number and you want to keep in touch. Sure, do, but I'm not a chat kind of person. And that was it. Lo behold, on my way home from work, I get a call. And it was Suneha. And she connected, and we had a 2 or 3 minute conversation just to say hi, hello, and see that we are not axe murderers or, serial killers. And we then started keeping in touch on SMS, because there was no WhatsApp also. It was just text messages. I mean, it was that far back. And that's how it started, and we've never looked back.
Fantastic. I mean, I love this part of your story. So tell me, how did it feel for you to finally meet someone who, I'm now assuming that Suneha has accepted her identity. So she's like you said, there was information around. So she was confident, and therefore finally to meet someone who you didn't have to fight for. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out for other reasons, but mostly it worked out,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. So
It
how
was
did it feel?
incredible. It was
Yeah.
incredible. It was a revelation. So Sneha had already had two relationships before she met me. Uh, and she was very, very comfortable in being who she was. And to be so uh, comfort comforted by being the fact that you were still very different from the conventional norms of society at such a young age was a pretty incredible thing for me. And I think to a great extent, it also, by then, of course, I was very comfortable with who I was as well. But I had not comfortable enough to have come out to my family. And that was it for me, at least as far as I was concerned. We went on for 2 months to just text each other and maybe call each other a couple of times a month to say hi, hello. There was no flirting. There was no, because I had already boxed her into being a kid. She was in college. I was in my mid 30s. There was no question of, I mean, being with someone. Like she was just unsuitable at that point of time from the age point of view. But I adored her. I adored the fact that she was so self assured and she's incredibly warm and she's got this kindness in her. When you meet her or speak to her, it's not just me, it's everybody. She's just a very kind person and that kindness comes out of her. And that was beautiful. And gradually, even when we met the first time, there's no question of dating. And she will always, if you ever talk to her, she'll laugh and tell you the first time we went for a meeting was to have a cup of chai in India at the roadside dhaba. And when I dropped her back home, it was a very brief meeting of about an hour. I didn't want to make her uncomfortable, so I patted her on the head. And she says I treated her like a dog. You know, it's how you pat a dog to say bye to her because I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable or think I'm trying to jump on top of her because she was just so young and so lovely. Uh, and even later on, a couple of dates later, it was she who always made the initiatives because I just felt it was wrong for me to impose myself on someone so young. And I thought her age made her unsuitable for me, but she had other plans. And so here we are 12 years later, still touchwood,
Beautiful.
head over heels in love with each other.
I can see that and I love it. And I am sure the audience watching will fall in love with you and Suneha photos Nicola has been sharing. And both of you, look at you, how beautiful. I just adore you both. Now, I think, it's interesting that people talk about unconventional and they talk about age barriers. I mean, look at us. Our life is unconventional. But the point here I'm
Absolutely.
making, yeah, Rukshana, we think about so much ourselves, right? We put so many barriers for ourselves before even other people put the barriers. And how do you change that narrative for yourself and for the future generation?
Look, at least for me, I realized my philosophy is very simple. If I'm not proud to be who I am, if I'm not comfortable and accepting of who I am, how can I accept or expect to be accepted rather by society or by people or my friends or my peers or my professional colleagues? So when I finally felt that freedom of being with a person who also was very accepting of who they were with Soneha, I embraced it wholeheartedly. I dived right in. Whether it's my professional life, whether it's my personal life, I am very proud to be with the person I am with, and I am very proud to be who I am. And I still remember the angst of my growing up when I wondered whether I was like one of those extraterrestrials or aliens on a new planet, whether there were people like me around. And I don't want anybody to feel that. Yes, we have Google and we have, Facebook and Instagram and social media and what have you. But human connect emotions is still the most powerful. And therefore, unless I embrace who I am and wholeheartedly celebrate who I am, how can I expect people to celebrate or accept me and my partner? So that's just what I've done. I'm very matter of fact about it. I i mean, for me, pride, I take pride in who I am every single day that I'm alive. I don't just have to celebrate it for Pride Month or for a particular day or for a particular period. Every
So do
single
you,
day I'm proud to be who I am and who I'm with.
beautiful, because we have to be proud, right? It starts with us. But Rukshana, do you
Absolutely.
feel that, I mean, I experience this a lot of time. So do you feel that you have to come out every day to people at times?
Oh, yeah. I mean, very often when I introduce Sonia as my partner, I still remember. So in a previous professional career before she got into hospitality as well, Sonia used to work in a bank, one of the biggest banks in the country, and I also happened to have an account in the same bank. Uh, so I had gone to the bank for some work, and she and I were walking out of the bank, and there was a colleague of hers. So she introduced me to the colleague, and she introduced me as her partner. And the colleague is like, "You're her business partner, don't you work here?" And I mean, we are both looking at each other's face. But that's exactly it. You do have to keep coming out. You do have to, when we use the word partner, especially in India, most people assume it's a business partnership. And of course, she is my business and I'm her business, but and we are a part of each other in every sphere and aspect of our lives, funnily enough, except professionally, because she has her own career and I have mine. And you do have to keep doing it, but I'm pretty okay with it now. I've accepted it again, and I realize I'll have to do it. I'm ready to do that 100 times, just so as long as I can get the message out that, yeah, I'm gay, I'm proud to be gay, and I celebrate being gay. If you have a problem with me, that's your problem. That's not my problem. Then you deal with it. You always have a choice, just like I do, of whether you want to hang out with me, you want to work with me, you want to associate with me. And we've been very lucky, Suneha and I, that even in our professional workspace, our bosses and our colleagues have been very accepting and very kind, and never really made us feel uh, you know lesser than anybody else. So we are very blessed that way.
So the world is changing. In India, the narrative is changing, Rukshana. And thanks to, I think, stories like
Definitely.
yours, stories like mine, there are so many stories of women. I mean, I love the fact and appreciate the fact more that women have come out to us as well and said, we'd like to be on the coming out stories in India because they want. It's the same thing that you're talking about. We talk about celebrating love. It's all
Absolutely.
about celebrating love. It's also about making sure that there are role models, there are stories to listen to. So you can get your inner courage. That's also important. Before we go and talk to our families and friends who we want them to accept us, how is the scene in Kolkata right now? So from 30 years ago, have you seen the change? And have you been
Oh
part of that
yeah.
change?
Yes, so I think it's like being on a different planet now compared to what it was 30 years back, but in the nicest way, in a very positive way. There is a very, you know, should I say, of course, it's much more for the gay men. Women still are very, very few openly out, but they're definitely there. In fact, we are just about to form in the coming months the Kolkata Pride Trust. So we have a group called Kolkata Pride, and now we are making it into a trust because we want it as a safe space. I'm deeply honored because my friends have asked me to be one of the trustees and to represent the lesbian fraternity. And I'm very excited about that because I've always tried, and with Suneha's blessings and support, to champion, the fact that it is okay to be gay. It is not queer to be queer. You know what I mean? And so that's how it is. And we are definitely going to be the change makers. You can't sit back and expect change. So I'm not a rabble rousing feminist, or I'm not one of those people who believes that you have to be forceful or angry or aggressive. I believe the greatest change comes when you embrace who you are quietly confident in who you are, and the more people meet you, they realize that you are just like them. And so it's okay who you choose to be with within the four walls of your bedroom, just the way you choose your partner, they choose theirs. And now over the last 12 years, it's a joke with all my close friends, because couple goals means Tinny and me. Tinny is my partner Suneha's pet name. And all my friends who are straight either tell me, why don't you have a brother? We would love someone like you in our life. And then I feel very flattered and I tell Sneha, how lucky are you? Love, you got me. I'm, absolutely the bee's knees, and we laugh over it. And she very sweetly tells me, of course you are. There's no one like you. So it's very good for my ego. And, it's a great feeling to be loved. There's nothing better than being loved by the person you. So it's really interesting to me that in a conservative country like India and a city like Kolkata, that in our circle of friends, and I have a fairly big circle of friends because, like I told you, I'm a very outgoing extrovert person. Our relationship is what my very straight, very married friends say are couple goals for them. And the very fact that, a gay couple is the couple goal for so many straight couples just tells us how far this city has come and how blessed we are. And that's what we hope and pray, that we keep having this kind of change and growth, and we keep being a part of that change, so that the coming generations go through and when I was an
Sorry, so audience watching, Rukshana said that one of the reasons she has come onto this platform and shared her story because she's a change maker. Suneha, her partner, and her have been together 12 years, and that the change starts with us. So, audience, fantastic. I mean, I'm looking forward personally to visiting Rukshana and Suneha, Tinny as she's called, and I know I want a tiffin box, but more than all that, I want to celebrate love with you. You've been with your partner for 12 years. We've been together, Nicola and I, for nearly 15 years. And I think we are an example of how love should be celebrated every day, every moment. I love how you spoke about your love and your journey, because to me, it's a huge, respect is so important, right? Not what you say in front of your partner, but when your partner is not around. I think that to me is grace, and that to me is love. And really, Rukshana, I'm looking forward to the world to know more about the kind of love that you celebrate. And this story has left a really deep impact on me because you represent to me that whole generation of coming out that didn't really understand coming out, right? We coined that term coming out basically. Our life
oh,
is in a
totally.
closet. Yeah, so our life basically was in a closet. We've just opened the closet doors to many others. As I say, what do I say? I can't even remember what I say. Closets are for clothes, not to hide your truth. you know but a beautiful conversation, beautiful. Nicola and I, on behalf of our audience and us, wish you and Suneha the absolute most beautiful journey forward, and we look forward to sharing more with you and breaking bread, as we said. And we are going to be you'll have to share your address at some point, because we're going to send you a beautiful hamper from Herbal Theory, one of our gifting partners. The Herbal Theory has beautiful organic, sustainable products, which are candles and
Wow.
beautiful stuff. I know that you will love it, because the kind of
Thank
person
you. I'm sure.
yeah. So thank you very much, Rukshana. Is there anything final message you want to give our audience?
Absolutely. First of all, Raga and Nicola, thank you for being you, both of you. We love you, and it's a beautiful friendship that we've struck up. Though we haven't had the privilege of meeting in person, we've had a few virtual meetings, and Sneha and I cannot wait to have you and Nicola come visit us in Kolkata. And yes, we'll have many tiffin boxes from many places. Make your list, as I always say. And, to everybody out there, uh, this is called my pride and your pride. And truly, that is what it is. Be proud to be who you are. Reach out if you feel alone. Know that you're not alone, and we all march together. It's a journey, and we will reach our destination and our goal. And on that note, thank you so much once again to both of you for doing this and for having me here. Thank you so
Thank
much, Nicola, for all the support at the back.
Thank you, Nicola, and
Love you, Raga.
love you too, Rukshana. Love you. Love to Suneha. And please share your blog name, no, so that if people want to follow you and follow all your recipes and interesting thoughts.
So it's the website and the blog is www.culinarycommentator.com, and the Instagram handle is at the culinary commentator, and there's a Facebook page of the same name as well. So if you want to make yourself hungry and you want to know what I eat, and if you're a foodie like I am, please do connect. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Rukshana. Thank you, audience, for joining in. Do not forget, we are available for any thoughts, feedback, advice, and stories. write to us at theviewsroom@gmail.com. And remember to follow me on Totally Out Now. All my handles, Facebook, Twitter, Insta. That's because I'm totally out now. And thank you, Nicola. Thank you. And anybody wants to subscribe to these stories, please join. You subscribe to YouTube channel Raga Olga D'silva. Signing out, Totally Out Now. You're watching Today with Totally Out Now, presented by the Views Room. Thank you.